I have an opinion on Sonic the Hedgehog. Growing up, I primarily played the NES and the Sega Mega Drive. If it already wasn't clear by my channel, I kind of drifted towards Sega's side. I collected a lot of games. Things like Streets of Rage and stuff I've covered on the channel, like Chuck Rock and James Pond. And Echoes of And most importantly, Sonic the Hedgehog. And just with Sonic Mania being right around the corner, which, by the way, I cannot wait, what better time to talk about the classics than the small amount of time we have to the release of the homage of all of the games we love. So we're going to be talking about the originals. You know, the ones that half the fanbase say are the only good ones. And then there's war.
Blood on the streets. Women and children crying. So much blood.
Oh, you know, the internet equivalent of that. Also, this video was meant to come out a lot sooner, but there was some important business work I had to deal with. Now, to be honest, quite a few of you may have already heard a lot about these titles, so I thought I'd summarize and bring up specific points. I'll be mentioning my favorite level and my least favorite level, my favorite boss, my least favorite boss, the final boss, the special stages, and my overall thoughts. With that being said, let's jump into Sonic the Hedgehog 1, June 23rd, 1991, at least in America. Over here, we didn't get it until July. It being the first in the lineup, it offered 6 sets of stages with 3 acts each. We had Green Hill Zone, which I'll be shocked if you know anything about, it's kind of indie at this point. Marble Zone, where the speed of the game goes to die. Spring Yard Zone. Damn. Shit! Fuck! PTSD Zone, I mean Labyrinth Zone, sorry, slip of the tongue. Starlight Zone, where the difficulty of the game goes to die, and Scrap Brain Zone, a level that resurrects the difficulty of the previous, and then they work together towards ultimate evil. Now, I'd probably pick Starlight Zone as my favorite stage, though purely because it's built for speed. The stage does have some platforming if you stick to lower paths, but it mostly consists of fast running sections and loops, and I love that sense of speed. And as a plus, it also has my favorite background of all the stages as well. Now, as for my least favorite, I hear Marble Zone get a lot of flack for slowing down the game, but surprisingly, I don't dislike that. What I do dislike is Spring Yard Zone. It's just complex and confusing, and the traps and enemies are placed in very annoying places, as well as things just knocking you around and overall stopping your forward momentum. But none of those things compare to how much I despise those fucking roller enemies. I'm just minding my own business, having a good time, and oh sweet Jesus! Alongside it being my favorite stage, Starlight also has my favorite boss. Since most of the other bosses are fairly simple, the added challenge of having to bounce up to hit Robotnik was a neat twist. I also liked you could also use his own mines against him. Now, when it comes to a boss I wasn't particularly fond of, I guess Labyrinth Zone? I mean, it's not even a boss, it's just a jumping section with a time limit. And even with the fact that all the other bosses are simple, this still manages to be underwhelming. I will say the whole thing does wrap up with a pretty interesting final boss, where you have to time your jump to try and hit Robotnik as he attempts to squash you with these huge pistons. While in between movements, you need to dodge electricity balls. All this with no rings and some pretty intense boss music. It's a great finish to an overall good experience. As long as you ignore the ending, where Robotnik shows you he still has all of the emeralds. Because there is no way I would recommend anyone go through those rotating nightmares. I do not enjoy these at all. It's all about balancing the movement of Sonic and jumping when needed around a constantly spinning level. You have basically no control. Yes, you do have some control, but not enough to make it fun. I think it's stupid and not worth it. But the game overall is good, and I say good because I can't say it's great. It suffers from what I'd personally call first game syndrome of the retro era. It was an idea not fully utilized, a trial perhaps, of concepts and mechanics. And although I could say it was a good game, looking back and comparing it to the others that came out, it is quite limiting. Maybe just too simple. Personally, it ranks my least favorite of the 4 classics. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Released November 21st, 1992, at least in Japan. America and Europe got it on the 24th. The second in the lineup offered 8 main stages with 2 acts each, with a few oddball stages near the end. Emerald Hill Zone is your Green Hill Zone 2.0. Chemical Plant Zone, where everyone remembers the water. Aquatic Ruin Zone, oh god, there's more water! Casino Night Zone, I can't control where I'm going, please send help. Hilltop Zone, Green Hill Zone 2.5? Mystic Cave Zone, Oil Ocean Zone, this is pretty bad. Metropolis Zone, never mind, this is way worse. Sky Chase Zone, it's unique, but I don't know. Wing Fortress Zone, one of the more breakable stages of the game. And lastly, Death Egg Zone, which is just a boss level, basically. It was a bit harder to pick my favorite stage of this one, due to enjoying quite a lot of the levels in full. Music, art, and such. But honestly, the Mystic Cave music alone puts it up there as one of my favorite stages. Even with its somewhat clunky level design. It's just so easy to hum along to. And when it comes to clunky design, I would have almost said Oil Ocean, because there are certain things, why do I just want to suddenly strangle a seahorse? But Metropolis Zone exists, and I would take 20 Oil Oceans before I'd even step foot in this garbage set of stages any day. In fact, this is the only stage in the game that has 3 acts, all filled with the most annoying enemies you've ever seen, and layouts and traps that make you want to tear your hair out. The only thing remotely good about it is its music, and even then, at least for me, it's been tainted in the crossfire of pain and hate this set of levels have made me feel. And I know I'm not the only one. Now, when it comes to my favorite boss of Sonic 2, it's probably Aquatic Ruin. Though the main gimmick of jumping on the arrows is neat, the fact that you can just cheese the boss if you wanted was always a fun way of doing it. But if this wasn't a shocker, the worst boss goes to the one in the worst stage. It just frustrates me. Apparently there is a pattern to it in which you can jump and hit him without being hit yourself, but if you can do that, more power to you. This boss is boring and annoying. The final boss, though, offers much more than the first in the series, as you fight Robotnik's giant mech. This thing is packed with weapons to take down anyone who doesn't know how best to fight this thing. And since you die in one hit yet again, it offers a much greater threat. When he jumps, you need to make sure he lands in favorable spots, as he can still attack you if you're in front of or behind him. With a bit of know-how, you can get him in an easy pattern, but I still just really love this boss. And after you beat him, you get the ending cutscene that shows you falling out of the Death Egg. If you have all the Chaos Emeralds, you would also be Supersonic here. Don't though. You know what? Rather than get the emeralds here, get the good ending for Sonic 1. Honestly, it's more worth it, because these special stages are the worst things in any of the classic games. Now, I know there are big fans of these stages out there that will disagree, more power to you, but I just do not like these stages. Most of your movements through them devolve into guessing and second tries. Whoops, didn't know a ring of bombs would just suddenly appear from around the corner. It's not fun. To progress, you need to collect rings in these stages before you hit 3 checkpoints. The number increases after each checkpoint, but getting damaged makes you lose 10 rings. There are a nice chunk of stages that require a precise amount of rings. I don't know, being blindsided like that just doesn't seem fair. Oh, what's that, you lost? Better collect 50 rings just for another shot at it. I feel like my main problem is it just doesn't control that well to me, and the hitbox is just way weird. Though to be fair, I do understand why they would want to make it a little difficult, because this is the first game that introduced Sonic's new form, Super Sonic, the overpowered form of Sonic with super speed and invincibility, which almost makes the struggle worth it. It's easy to see why a lot of people would consider this the best of the 4 games. It's got some amazing stages, both visually pleasing and with some awesome music. And speeding through the game is even easier with the all-new added Spin Dash. My own personal special stage problems aside, I can easily see why people would pick this as their favorite. And it would be my favorite too, if it wasn't for something we'll talk about later. Oh, and since everyone remembers the rising water bit being so annoying to deal with, here's a tip. Just at this section, you can spin dash and jump into this wall, skipping that entire rising water section altogether. Surprisingly, I still find a lot of people that just don't know this. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, released in America February 2nd, 1994, and released in PAL regions February 24th. Sonic 3 offers less than the previous, and only 6 stages 2 acts long, but makes up for it with other other small things. We have Angel Island Zone. Hey, something that isn't Green Hill Zone. Wish this trend stuck. Hydro City Zone, or as wrong people like to say, Hydrocity. Marble Garden Zone. I don't know where to start. Carnival Night Zone. Apparently the boss of this stage wasn't even the boss itself. Ice Cap Zone. Chances are you've heard many remixes of this level. And Launch Base Zone. Go, 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 go. And I know, people probably think it's overrated at this point to say this, but my favorite stage has to go to Ice Cap Zone. I mean, my main reason is due to my love of snow-themed levels, but yeah, I do enjoy the music a lot as well. But nothing will be as overrated to me as the complaint about the barrel boss. Really, guys? Really? I guess I must have been a god among Sonic players because I picked up on this gimmick really easily. No, it's fine. If you had trouble with it, well, I didn't, and that's probably why I don't understand. But because of this, Carnival Night Zone isn't my least favorite in Sonic 3. Marble Garden is. What a trash pile of a level. For a start, I'm not big on the aesthetics. Not really a fan of the music either. In fact, I'd say it's the worst track of the game. Carnival Night Zone would have been in that spot, but I just love the But the very worst part about this stage is just playing it. There are annoying gimmicks everywhere. It's a nightmare to explore. All this combined with the fact that the Act 2 boss can really give you a run for your money if you don't have Super Sonic by then to cheese the hell out of him. It's just not fun. Now, in terms of bosses, this entry in this series spices it up with the fact every single level has a boss. No longer is it just the end of the last act with the other two games, which means we fight a lot more bosses. I'm actually quite partial to none of them. They're not bad, but they're not really stand out either. Though it is much easier for me to pick the boss I dislike. Ice Cap Zone Act 2's boss is a good test of your jumping control, but is overall quite a pain in the ass. Having to jump on the lowering platform in order to hit the boss, all while trying to dodge the cold air, it can give you quite a bit of trouble. There is a pattern to it though, and I'm not saying the boss is bad actually, it's just my least favorite of the bunch. The final boss of Sonic 3 though is Big Arm, the best final boss of the classic games on their own. This boss is tough, wanting you to be accurate with your placement and timing, all the while playing some amazing music, making the whole fight very tense. The main difference though is you can actually have rings for this fight, and for me to say that it's still difficult, even with rings, speaks a lot. I specifically remember as a kid when I started hearing that music, I knew I was in for a bad time. Nowadays though, I don't find him that difficult because by now I'm always Super Sonic. Why is that? Because of all the special stages in the original series, the Blue Orb stages are my favorite. Colorful and challenging, and most importantly, always in your control. The first was always spinning, the second was always moving forward, and yes, technically in this one too, you are always moving forward, but you can go over old ground. The challenge comes from spending too much time inside and speeding up over time, but even then you can still control where you're going quite well. And not only that, you can see what's in front of you quite easily and react accordingly. I often see people talking about Sonic 3 as their least favorite of the bunch, and honestly I might be able to see why. The game doesn't have that wow factor, nothing really stands out, and the things people do talk about are usually things they don't like as much. Now, of the 4 games, this ranks at 3rd place, but thanks to something else, it has something going for it that the others do not. Sonic & Knuckles saw a worldwide release October 18th, 1994. Sonic & Knuckles was the follow-up from Sonic 3, to a point where they designed the cart in such a way that you could plug the 3rd game into it and make it a giant experience.
Oh, yes.
Even Sonic 1 and 2 was able to interact in some form, being able to play as Knuckles in Sonic 2 and giving us an insane amount of blue sphere stages with Sonic 1. This one offers 7 stages, 2 acts each, unless it's Hidden Palace with only 1. Technically, Sky Sanctuary has 2, but not together? Mushroom Hill Zone. Oh, we're back to hills again. Don't worry, if you felt like you missed them 20 plus years later, it's still coming back. Flying Battery Zone. Honestly, kind of overrated. Sandopolis Zone, the stage that made me turn off the game many times as a kid. Lava Reef Zone, honestly, kind of underrated. Hidden Palace Zone, or as I like to call it, the Lore Dump stage. Sky Sanctuary Zone, now this was in Generations for a reason. And Death Egg Zone. Okay, so my favorite level. What's funny to me is that in the script, I know I scripted this video, surprise. I had this whole thing about me liking snow levels and then also liking lava levels. I was about to go into Lava Reef, but I just really like Sky Sanctuary. It's just so cool to think about ruins floating in the sky. I love the overgrown ivy feel and the beautiful music that's playing, as well as having nods to the previous game. Oh, god damn it! Yeah, I completely winged this one because I changed my mind. But I haven't changed my mind on my least favorite zone, which goes to Sandopolis, which seems to be the common pick. It's honestly just lacking any kind of fun? I don't know, I can enjoy sand levels, but honestly, this is about as much fun as getting sand stuck in many uncomfortable places. Not to mention the very annoying gimmick of Act 2, where you have to open timed doors and keep an eye on the timed ghost enemies. There's a lot of things just rushing you. The second act just used to make me turn off the game, and not just because I was a bitch boy afraid of the ghosts, as we've previously mentioned. I also want to point out in that video in particular, I said I enjoyed Sandopolis. I don't know why I said that, because really, it's passable at best. I'm gonna do least favorite boss first, because Sandopolis hits the double whammy with Mr. Jump and Hit Him with No Resistance, and its second boss, Mr. Jump and Hit Him with No Resistance. Now, my favorite boss, although fairly simple in design, is a really awesome moment. You have to be playing as Knuckles though, because we're about to take on Mecha Sonic. First using some familiar moves, but in Phase 2 going Super Saiyan! This boss right here is my absolute favorite of all 4 games. There was a reason why this fight was in my top 5 retro bosses, because I just loved all the questions it brought, like how is he able to harness the power of the Master Emerald? Why does he even have a super form to begin with? Can more people do that? I'm aware that there might be answers nowadays, but back then I hadn't a clue. And the mystery added to the experience. S3 and K's final boss is its own stage, but the only way to get here is to at least have a set of the original Chaos Emeralds. Doomsday Zone is something special. First, you have to dodge incoming missiles and giant rocks. Make Robotnik hit himself with his own missiles. Then dash face first into Robotnik's mech, all while flying through space, collecting rings to try and keep yourself alive alongside this amazing music which is just hyping up the action. It was certainly a special moment, one I didn't witness for many years, because I had no idea it was even a thing. I often didn't get that far, and if I didn't have all the emeralds. And honestly, getting all the emeralds nowadays is just a force of habit. It's more of the same from Sonic 3, but quite a bit harder. I'll say if you're new to these stages in particular, there might be quite a few second tries in your future. It's still worth doing, especially in combined mode, as you get Hyper Sonic, the most broken thing in a Sonic game ever, that has never made a return, and honestly I'm kind of sad about that. He is even faster than Super Sonic, has a double jump, and when he does that, he destroys all bandits on screen. He is ridiculously broken. Maybe that's why they haven't brought him back. Or the seizures. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my favorite of the bunch. It has a bunch of awesome stages, all with really interesting themes and music, a ton of the special stages that I like personally, as well as Hyper Sonic. Like, how can you not love this? But only if they're combined, because otherwise it's Sonic 2, with Sonic and Knuckles being a very close second. Those were my favorites and least favorite things in the game. I'd love to hear what yours are, because I'm sure that they're probably different than mine. Maybe your opinions overall are quite different as well. I know some people that absolutely hate Sonic 2, or some people that love the Sonic 2 special stages. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna relax and play some more Sonic. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and a special shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. I can't thank you enough for your generosity. If you'd like to support Pixelated Memories for as little as $1, then link in the description. Of course, there's no need to. I'd just be grateful. Man, this video took a lot longer to get out than I thought it would, so I apologize about that. But if you want to see some more Sonic goodness, we have Sonic ROM hacks on the left, or if you want to see some Mario related stuff, we have Mario bootlegs on the right. Please like the video if you found it entertaining, and if you want to see more, subscribe. Thank you and goodbye.